Welcome back to another episode of the Man Cave Podcast. As you can see, my regular co-host here, Larry. That's not Larry. That's Eric. Larry's away on his little anniversary, so congratulations to him and his wife or whatever. But the show goes on, and I was gonna do behind the scenes footage of the episode that came out last week, but considering nobody saw that video, I'm like, why would I do behind the scenes footage on a video that nobody watched?
Straight pain right there.
So my man Eric, I invited him back on. He's no stranger to the show. Appreciate you hopping on with me today, Eric.
Hey, so always a pleasure being invited. I appreciate it.
And today's topic of conversation is going to be content creation. Content creation or content creators is all the hype right now. Everybody's jumping into it. I think Chris Helmsworth just released a YouTube video with Mr. Beast himself. We got T-Pain, who's obviously been on Twitch for a while. Yep. It just seems like everybody's jumping into the content creator space. And then later on, I also want to talk about podcasting. I know it's a little ironic, but podcasting has risen and people believe that it's also fallen just because everybody and their mom has one. And the quality of podcasting itself is kind of devalued. But I think we're going to get into that a little bit later. But I was going to start the conversation with asking Eric, who do you consider as an OG content creator?
Man, I got a couple to list. Can I list more than one?
Yeah, go for it, man.
All right, so I don't even think he makes content anymore, but Hot Damn I Rock or Kane Carter. Man, I looked up to this dude, black gentleman from Baltimore. I think he's only a few years older than me. Jerry Levine Jr., he actually still has a YouTube, but it's more family focused now. And obviously the old school GOAT, Dashy. I started actually following him back in the days where I think he used to narrate for NasSun.com. And you would see him doing voices for like Barney or Ash Ketchum and a whole bunch of other shit,
Baraka.
Man. Yeah. Then he moved over to the Mortal Kombat. So, I mean, this dating back like 10, 12 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah, when I think about like OG, Dashy's on my list as well. One of my favorites also, Life According to Jimmy Tatro. That's OG for sure. Now, thinking about the OG content creators and thinking about the content creators that are out now, completely different space, completely different environment.
Yeah.
I feel like before it was all like, it was very creative. Like it was like skits. It was really comedy based. Now it's a lot of IRL stuff. It's a lot of drama, pop the balloon. Like it's a lot wider, but I don't think it's anywhere where it was before.
I just think that it just got a little bit, it went from being a really niche product to just a more mainstream product. But actually, I do think that it's relatively the same, aside from the pop the balloon challenges and maybe YouTube coming out with their own bigger series with YouTube Red and YouTube Originals and stuff. But when you really think about it, YouTube started off as like, filming your cat, filming your kids doing dumb shit. We started with like America's Funniest Home Videos, like the original YouTube. And then, you went, vlogs kind of took YouTube by storm. Because people said, I can actually stop filming my cat and just kind of turn the camera around and film myself. So I don't think that it actually changed from its core, like its origination. I just think that it grew and so many more people are trying to get involved.
I know you're a big YouTube guy. You spend a lot of time on YouTube.
Most of my time, yeah.
Did you ever think that watching it back, like when we first started seeing the OGs, that was going to blow up the way that it did? Everybody and their mom was going to be like, I'm going to jump on YouTube, start making YouTube videos.
Yeah, no, I started on YouTube when I was 13 years old. Obviously when you're that young, you don't even think really that much about the future. But even when I was 20 and 21, like YouTube was still a relatively, again, niche product. So I didn't think that it would blow up to be what it was today. In fact, if you go down the street and still talk to someone, you're not even going to be surprised at the fact that they still don't watch YouTube like that. It's still actually a relatively small platform, I think, in terms of popularity and daily use in comparison to what's out there now.
That's actually crazy to think about, the idea that so many people don't actively watch YouTube, but also the ones that are large on YouTube have such a ridiculous following. Like Speed.
Yeah.
Speed has like 23 million subscribers.
That is crazy.
And it's like, you could walk outside and ask somebody, yo, you know who Speed is? They're going to be like, I have no idea. I'm like,
yeah.
So it doesn't actually make sense that this dude could have 23 million subscribers and then so many people in your day-to-day don't know who they are.
Yeah, I mean, 23 million is a large number, but it's just it's a small number when you think about the internet. I mean, 23 million, that's what, that's New York, Philadelphia, and probably Chicago. So you got 3 cities of people following you, and then compare that to the rest of the United States. Nobody knows who the fuck you are outside of that. Like, so, large but small number.
I think a large of his following too is like England, like EU. Like since he paired his whole thing with like soccer, his fan base completely switched
exploded. Up. It exploded, man.
I wanted to start off talking about like our experience with content creation prior, because me and you have been trying to dig into that content creator space for a while now. And I was wondering, because you have 2 channels now. One is over 1,000. The other one, you're going to get back onto it. And I feel like you found your style of editing relatively quick. What do you think was it that aided in your, like, honing in your editing skills and be like, this is how I'm going to tell a story in my videos?
All right. There was one key inspiration. For anyone that ever watches this, I need you to go to YouTube. And I need you to type in, there's an old video from 2012. It's called Athene's Theory of Everything. And in this video, it's a physics-based video, but it kind of talks to you about psychology and about quantum physics and how they kind of marry each other. And those are 2 completely different concepts. But the way the information was presented, I said, man, like if I were ever to try to teach someone something in this format, that's exactly how I would want to do it. And George, I swear, if you go back and watch this video, you'll see the exact influence that was there. But my videos are also an extension of my most professional self. Obviously, you work in corporate, you got to fumble around a little bit to kind of find your footing in order to work your way up. I feel like if I'm going to be putting myself out there, I need to be putting my most professional self out there. So I'm always trying to add the most professional and high quality touch to my work at work, and even if I'm working on side projects as well. So that's where it kind of comes from.
Do you consider yourself to be like a content creator, and a good one at that?
I don't consider myself to be a content creator. I consider myself a person that just makes content. I'm actually still trying to figure this shit out. There's a window, and we may even get into this, but there's like a special window that I think works for people that want to get involved in content creation. And it's when you're young, and it's before the major pieces of your life are starting to be put together. Trying to balance content creation and building an empire, at 30 plus is far more difficult, because you obviously have a job, you have spouses, you have children, everything to balance. And with so many different moving parts and pieces, and with who I am as a person that just likes to dabble in so many different things, it's hard for me to kind of stay committed to being a content creator. So occasionally I'll have a burst of 6 to 8 months of creating content. Then I'll probably go on a break, come back with another 6 to 8 months of creating more content, and take another break. So if I'm a content creator, I'm really fucking inconsistent.
Yeah.
So.
When I was thinking about this video, I was thinking about like my method of creating content as well. And me and you had a conversation a little while, maybe even about a year ago, about how I use YouTube and I use content creation and just creating stuff as therapy, pretty much. It's just a way of kind of stepping away from my reality and just hone in on something where I can just have fun, create something that I know I'm going to enjoy making, and then I'm going to enjoy looking back at. So yeah, I don't think that I can view myself as a content creator as well, even though I also have multiple like channels. I've attempted stuff on Twitch. You know what I mean? Now with the podcast, the gaming stuff, movie reviews. But all that stuff is really just fun for me. I don't create any of it thinking like I'm about to be a millionaire. Put me next, put me next to the other ones. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I think so many people get into it though, is they just want, they see the success that other people have, And then they want to duplicate it. They want to be like, oh, that's what they're doing. I see the life that they're living. I want to live that life. And they start making those videos in an attempt to kind of chase that life. Do you think that's a healthy way of getting into content creation?
I think that's no different than saying I'm going to go to college and become a fucking doctor. I mean, why else would you want to become a doctor? Like, you got to think about it. Would anyone in this country become a doctor if they weren't paid very well? Probably not, right? So, I mean, now that we've learned how to kind of monetize content creation, it's a new avenue, a new type of job system that we're trying to work out and figure out. Going into it for the money, most people would probably say, oh, you're stupid for doing that. But it's like, are you really stupid for wanting to make money doing something you love? I mean, we do that shit every day.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's dumb for anyone to go into content creation wanting to make a profit. I think it's dumb to think that you're going to make a profit right away.
Yeah, I'm gonna quit my job.
It's like starting a business. You know, you don't really profit in your business for quite a bit. So, I mean, that's essentially what it is. It's starting a business, starting a brand, and figuring out how to reach your different audiences and how to market yourself. You know, XYZ.
Yeah, I remember. I saw a statistic. I had Googled the percentage of content creators that are considered like successful. And it was 35% of content creators make a living through ad revenue. 25% of creators earn about 50 to 100K a year. And only 2% of the top creators make more than $1 million a year. 35% is a lot higher than I thought it was going to be when I searched this. But what do you think leads to so many failed content creators?
The same thing that leads me to start and stop. Maybe not exactly the same thing, but I would say one of the parts of it is that it's fatigue. It's the fact that you're putting into something that you're not getting a tangible return on investment on, right? A lot of people want to be seen. A lot of people want to be noticed, and people are convinced that that's some type of currency, and it can act as currency, right? You know, if you get notoriety and people follow you, you can get brand deals, you know, you can get into clubs, you can get privileges, right? So it can be a currency, but what people often want at the end of the day is some type of security, right? So I'm putting in all of this time, I'm putting in all of this effort, and my life is still the same 6 months later, and I only have 10 or 11 followers, and I have no one to lean on. I don't know, like no one I know is watching my videos. They don't give a shit about me. So I think that's why most people end up failing. You know, they don't go into it with a plan and they don't really know exactly what to expect. And they realize that I'm just kind of talking to no one really, you know, or these 10 people that follow me, they're not really worth my time because I can actually talk to 10 people in real life every day and share these ideas. So,
yeah. That's such a missing piece of a lot of people's puzzle is not understanding that. I think when you go into do content creation, it's like, yeah, it's fun. But you also have to have like the mental bandwidth to kind of jump into it because yeah, if I put 15 videos out and all of the 15 videos are 2 views and I'm both views on all of them, just watching it back. Like,
yo, I know that. I know that feeling.
You gonna be upset. Right?
Hell yeah.
And then you're like, yo, why is nobody liking my stuff? And then you can spiral out of control and think, maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe I'm not as funny as I thought. Maybe I'm not as creative as I thought. I've had conversations with people that like want to do stuff, but you know, they don't like the way they look. They don't like the way they talk. They don't like the way they sound. Yeah. And that's like, all right, I don't think you cut out for it. If you can't hear yourself talk, you can't look at yourself.
Yeah. And what happens when they get some negative feedback or some negative troll comments or whatever?
Look, I'm gonna use my wife as an example because she's always like, you know, maybe I'll start doing TikToks. I'll start recording and you can edit them for me. I'm like, I'm down. I was like, I don't think you're ready for what the internet has to offer.
Yeah.
I was like, me and Larry and Eric have all been called the craziest shit that you could be called on the internet.
Yeah.
And you just got to be like, either laugh at it, maybe roll with the punches, throw something back, or just ignore it. But some people just don't have the skin to do it.
No, they don't. I mean, I posted an opinion about relationships and someone told me that my wife was white and fat. The complete opposite.
Could not be more off.
And you look at it and I'm like, all right, man. Like that's the best you had. Like obviously that's all you can do because you don't know me. So it just becomes entertainment for me, honestly. But for most people, I think that's another aspect that they don't quite get. You're yearning for any kind of attention that you can get when you post, but you're not thinking that attention is going to be negative. You're only assuming that, you know, you're an unsung hero. You know, people are gonna.
You're a gift to the world.
Yeah, like, and then someone's gonna be like, "Yo, this video is so ass." Like, what are you gonna do then?
You gonna fucking crumble. I swear I'll put out like a video of like a clip, and I'm like, this is gonna bang, man.
Yo,
and the comments be like, y'all could not be less funny. And I'd be like, all right, well, you gotta keep it moving.
Bro, I swear, like 6 months ago, when I dropped my 600-pound life episode, I swear that video was gonna go off, right? That thing got 23 views. And you remember I was texting you, I'm like, all right, maybe it's an algorithm issue. I privated it and I re-uploaded it with a different thumbnail. 20 views. I'm like, all right, man.
You lost 3.
Yeah, I lost 3. So I'm like, let me private the new one and just go back to the one that had 3 more views. Like, it's brutal. Your expectations will not be met and you will absolutely be humbled.
No, oh, for sure. It's catches so many people. It caught me off guard. But the thing is like, I go in with low expectations to begin with.
Yeah.
And even that is, I'm like, disappointed.
Yeah.
But I remember you telling me a statistic when I first started streaming that it was like you have a higher chance of joining and succeeding in the NBA than succeeding in streaming and content creation.
Yep.
And when you told me that, I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, when you hear that stat, you kind of be like, all right, then I might just stop. But then it comes back to what we said earlier. If you're in it for the bread, then you probably might want to stop. Your motivations have to be a little different. Like, sure, like you said, make it with the intention of hopefully you get some bread back.
Yeah.
But if that's what you're jumping in for all the way, you got a hard fight.
Yep. That's why it's better to kind of start this stuff when you're younger because your life's not quite put together yet. So you have nothing but free time to sit and stream and entertain no one until somebody notices you. And then that next person notices you. But the older you get, the less time you have to actually make things happen. And, you know, we're 32 and 31 and people are going to be like, oh, man, you guys are not that old. And it's like, I am a dinosaur compared to when I'm supposed to start this shit.
Yeah. And the fact that it's so stacked, like you got to put out content all day, every day.
Yep.
Just to compete. Ain't nobody that got a full-time job, a family, have the time to be like, well, I got to put my 4th TikTok up today in order to.
Right. Like, and if you're in the middle of your career, like me, I'm working between 40 and 50 hours a week. I have no idea when it's going to be 50 hours. Yep. Sometimes I might skirt with 37 and a half on a good week, but it's anywhere between 40 and 50 hours. And I have to be available 24/7. So technically I'm always working. So if I'm filming a video and some shit comes up at work, that's it.
Yeah.
Cut.
So let me ask you this. Obviously YouTube is a great source to learn as well. Creating the content, recording it is the funnest shit. Recording right now, me and you hanging out, that's the funnest part of content creation.
Right.
Getting back in the studio and editing this together and creating it is, bro, there were days that I just wanted to break my computer because I have a vision in my head and I'm on this software and I'm like, I can't fucking figure it out. And I watched 3 videos and I'm like, I swear to God, their shit looks different from my shit. And they got buttons, they got options that somehow I don't got. How did you deal with learning how to edit? Never editing before, your first time seeing the software. Did you feel overwhelmed? Because I personally love your editing style. I've told you this before.
Appreciate it.
Visually, it's very captivating. So I know that you talked about where your influence came from, but what did you do to create that? Because creating that and learning that editing style is so how long did it take you to kind of get to where you are?
It took me one video. So when I
talk to you guys later.
Yeah, like I'm not even bullshitting. I still have the original fucking video. So when I first did YouTube, I was under Watermelon Drip, and my first video was on The Gift. And for the audience, I was doing movie reviews. And this video was my first time being on YouTube, first time ever editing a full length. It's like 30 minutes long. I'm just kind of talking through it, walking people through the movie. The moment I uploaded it and I watched it back, I said, there's a quality fucking missing here. There's an elegance missing. Like, this doesn't feel top tier. It does, like, I want my shit to feel like a 3 Michelin star restaurant. It needs to have the atmosphere about it. It had no atmosphere. And I didn't know or even care if people even cared about that. I care about that kind of quality. I need things to look and feel a certain way. Like, they need to match with the pictures in my head. So the next video I did, it was on a movie that came out 2021 called I Care a Lot. So what I did was I took the footage, I added some letterboxes, I started using transitions, I started using some music in the background to create an atmosphere, and I practiced this voice, like this reading voice. It's like a narrator's voice, and it created kind of like a character. And I kind of just brought everything in, man. It's really hard to describe to you. I really wish I could, but I don't know. I've always had an eye for aesthetics and beauty, especially in media specifically. So I don't know. I just had a picture in my head and just kind of worked at it. And you know me, bro. Anytime I get an idea, I'm on that shit, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and so I looked up how to do certain things, how to make the transitions, how to get things to pop. And I just kind of knew where to put shit. Like, if it just felt right.
It's just like a sixth sense.
Yeah, bro. Like, you don't have anything in your life that's like that. Like, you do not have a sixth sense about anything.
I can't say that I do, man. I feel
not about films, plots, characters.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
So it kind of, over the time, you watch movies and you kind of build these skills. It becomes a sixth sense, right? Like, okay, just to give you some background. Remember I was doing that mobile phone shit?
Yeah.
I was designing shit back then. Was doing music shit. I was in the thing editing back then. So it was a bunch of skills and shit stacked on top of each other. So therefore, I was able to kind of create the pictures that were in my head with the software.
I mean, that actually makes sense when you tell it like that.
Yeah.
It's funny because, like, I had went back and watched my very first gaming video. I was like, this is fucking horrible.
That shit was everything at the time, though. You was like, yo, this joint is fire.
I'm like, look at me. I'm a fucking YouTuber.
Yeah.
And I looked back at it, and it was like, my camera box was way too big. The lighting in the cameras was horrible, very dark. Yeah. The audio for my microphone to the game was horribly balanced. It was just like poorly cut together. It was literally just dead air for like 3 minutes while I'm just quietly playing the game.
And you never thought to cut that shit out?
No, I was just like, this is what they want to see.
Yeah.
It's crazy to go back and, like, once you do it for a minute, because we've both been doing this for years now, to go back and watch your first one. Outside of you was like, at my second video, I'm going to be A1. But I went back. It took me a little while. And everybody always says this. I've heard it in other, like, podcasts. But it's true. My only goal when I first started doing it was just make my next video better than my previous one.
I respect that. Yeah. That's how it was for me, though. I dropped that first video. Honestly, I took that shit personally. Like, for some reason, I fucking watched it and it felt like people were saying
yourself, this shit's trash.
Like, that's how it felt, bro. Like, and I'm like that as a person. Like, I will make something and I don't know, I'm like able to kind of step outside of my own bias and just be like, bro, that shit's kind of That shit's trash, bro.
Yeah.
Like you need to work harder or do something different. And that's what happened back then. Like,
and that's another thing. It's funny you said that because I was thinking about learning how to be unbiased with your own content.
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna use last week's episode as an example. Like when we were recording it, I was like, this is a little off, but I think I can kind of fix it in post. But when I was watching it back, I'm like, yeah, nah. Like me not knowing us, like if I was like just a viewer, I'm like, this is not gonna get anybody's attention. It's not gonna hold anybody's attention. And there's a big thing that me and you are very different on is once I make a video, even if I'm like, there's a lot of flaws in this, I wish I could reshoot it. I'm just going to fucking put it up. I feel like you be like, this shit's horrible. I don't fuck with it. I know what I did wrong and I know I could fix it. I'm not putting this shit up. And you're like, I would reshoot it.
The amount of videos I did not upload this year, bro. No, I'm very much like that. I cannot, if I know that I've failed at something or it's just something's just not up to optimal quality, I'm just not about to drop that shit, bro. Like I'm not about to sit here and have people like, oh, this man is ass. And then it's just more of what I think of myself. Like if I don't like it, I just assume other people won't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I respect that. It's so many people too, though. Like, cause on both sides of my decision making and your decision making, if you don't know how to balance that, it could also be very damaging. If there's a person that would record content and never feels like it's good enough, there's always something can be improved on. They're never going to put it out. They're never
it happened to me. It's happened to me.
Held you back a little bit?
It completely tanked. That's what stopped Ask Watermelon. Remember, everything was fine. I was growing the channel. It was growing at a decent rate. But I looked at the content and I said, this ain't good enough. Like this needs to transform. You know, this needs to be more engaging. Like I'm in a very small niche and I need to blow this shit up. And not to mention there was other personal things going on. Like, you know, I was having my first baby and shit. So I'm out here like, all right, we need to get the ball rolling on this money gang. Like I need to expand my content and do more. So then when I stepped away to do that, life kind of took over and then I had to, you know, but it's happened to me, bro. It's a toxic trait, man.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy how quickly like you can allow content creating to kind of take a sidestep. Because like you said, we just do it. Like I said, I do it therapeutically. I do it to kind of step away. But it's so easy to just forget about it because we have so much shit going on. Like you said, we got kids, family, other stuff that we try to focus on. But I think it's because we don't focus on ourselves enough. And if we did, we'd be like, all right, I know what I would like to do. Create more content. I know that I enjoy doing it. I know that I have fun doing it. It brings me joy. But because we're not putting ourselves, you know, in the number one priority, like prioritizing ourselves, I feel like that takes the side step.
You know what? I'm gonna probably say I agree with that. But I think there's also some additional context, right? Because the way that I like to test that with myself is if I know there's something that I need to do, but I decide not to do it, you say, okay, great. Maybe you just need to rest that day. But if someone else were to text me and say, hey, can you do this thing for me? And I get up and do it. To me, that's saying that I value delivering for them more than I value delivering for myself. To kind of circle right back into your point.
Yeah.
And this journey through content creation for me, specifically in reference to that, I'm learning a lot more about myself and why I'm doing things. I don't think anymore that I'm doing YouTube to blow up or anything like that. I'm thinking I'm just doing it to express myself creatively, to have a space to get out ideas and to do things that I think are fun.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, so we're going to go into the back end of the episode, and I want to talk about the podcasting. Podcast isn't the first wave that's had so many people jump on it, but it is one of the first ones where I see so much hate towards it because there's so many people following it. Obviously, every trend, there's going to be people that hate it, right? Like, oh, another one of this. But people absolutely fucking hate podcasts now. I see comments all the time. Oh, podcast equipment should be more expensive. And there was an episode where me and Larry actually took an IQ test because another comment that I saw all the time was you should have to pass an IQ test to start a podcast. Because people are like, there's too many stupid fucking opinions.
How do you pass an IQ test?
Not pass, but you should have.
You should have one.
You should have to take an IQ test to see if you're allowed. I was going to say
the irony in that comment is hilarious.
So I was like, oh shit, that might be funny if me and Larry took an IQ test to see if we meet the minimum requirement to have a podcast. Because that's a lot of the comments. Is just like, fuck, here's another fucking podcast. But I remember years ago, I attempted to start a podcast. It had one episode. It didn't go any further than that.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, like, starting a podcast with no following is not the smartest thing, bro. Knowing how big podcast is now, would you still agree with that?
Yes. I'm standing on business.
10 toes.
Yeah, because to me, podcasting is not a gateway. Like starting an Instagram is a gateway. Starting a TikTok is a gateway. Something that you can gain traction on where there's a lot of eyes that are kind of forced to look at you because there are algorithms. Like YouTube is a gateway platform as well. But podcasting was so niche. Who the fuck are you expecting to find you on there? And obviously the pandemic blew podcasts up a lot.
Yeah.
But I still would tell somebody today, I really don't know what the odds are or the statistics, but don't start a podcast. Start a TikTok, start an Instagram, start a YouTube. But starting a podcast, I don't know, man. I don't know.
And again, irony doesn't even describe it because I agree with you.
Yeah.
And here I am on my podcast that I have no prior following with my partner who also has no prior following. And we're just grinding this shit out to see where it goes. But yeah, I think you just got to put your content everywhere else.
Yeah.
Like Queso, you know Queso, right?
Actually, I don't know Queso.
So Queso is a Twitch streamer who blew up last year. And now people are like, if you watch him, I think you might fuck with him. He gives off very like dashy vibes. There's no way he's not influenced by him. But his first stream on Twitch, he averaged 73 views for no following. This is his first stream on Twitch.
What was he playing?
I don't even fucking remember. But it only happened to have that many views on your first stream ever because he just uploaded a bunch of videos on TikTok for like 3 days in a row. And then people was like, yo, do you stream this? And he was
the gateway platform.
I can. And he was like, yo, he was like, all right, I guess if you guys like the TikToks, I'm going to just start streaming. And then his first stream, 70 motherfuckers came through. And then in 1 year, this dude, I think he won an award last year for like a, like new streamer or something. So yeah, I 100% agree that you have to utilize and take advantage of all the other stuff. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts.
Yep.
In order to bring people to your podcast, in order to bring people to, your Twitch streams. If not, you're going to be hitting a lot of dead ends. It's going to be exhausting. You're going to feel just like what we said earlier. You'll feel depleted, isolated even sometimes. It's a tough thing to get into content creation. It's not for everybody.
No, I think it is tough, man. I mean, especially now that we're in the conversation podcasting era. I mean, you very well can start a podcast now and then post shorts. That's the main strategy for any new podcast now, but it's still very hard because a lot of the conversations have been repeated and regurgitated. So a lot of people are just going to swipe right through the moment they hear something that sounds familiar and just say, I'm just going to go get this from the guys I already follow.
Yeah.
So now it's just basically a problem with competition. But content creation in itself, it's not for everybody, the same as college isn't for everybody, but I think you need to try it to figure out if it's for you or not. Without me doing YouTube or trying this content creator shit, I really wouldn't know that I was actually cut out to probably do some video editing in the background, or maybe just doing script writing or something. Mm-hmm. Because remember what I told you before, I hit 1,000 subs on my one channel in 6 months, and I actually didn't give a shit about it probably the next day after I hit 1,000 subs, man. It was the most, I don't think I've ever been more confused about a fucking milestone. I think I'm still trying to figure it out. There's obviously more I got to learn about myself.
Yeah.
So clearly me being on YouTube as a content creator isn't obviously that valuable to me if reaching 1,000 subs doesn't mean shit to me.
Right. But
maybe the act of editing and being creative is the driving factor of it.
I think
the fan base. Yeah, the fan base. Yeah. I don't really give a shit about that.
Whether it's there or not, you're enjoying what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I know I told you this was probably gonna be like an hours long conversation. But I think I'm gonna leave it here. I very much enjoyed this conversation. When I thought about this episode, I was like, there's nobody better to bring on than Eric. Me and Eric started doing content around the same time. Me and you are very tapped into the content creation space. Where we've learned how to edit. We've learned how to attempt to manipulate the algorithm is how I'll say that. Because man, that is also a nightmare. But talking to you just on a creative standpoint, bouncing back ideas has always been some of the most fun shit that I've ever done. Yep. So I was like, yo, if I'm gonna do this video, there's only one guy that I gotta talk to.
Appreciate it, dog. Appreciate it, man. And I told you this in person, but now I'm gonna put this out there for the internet. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have gotten on YouTube anyway. There you go. I would have never started this journey.
Clip it and ship it, boys.
Whatever the fuck this journey is, I have no idea where it's going or why I'm even doing it anymore. But I'm here, man.
Yeah, I mean, in our friend group, we've always talked about, yo, we should do a YouTube. And I feel like that's every fucking friend group. They're going to be like, yo, we should start a YouTube channel because we're funny as shit. But like we said on this episode, takes a special person to kind of commit to starting, and even more special person to keep going, to find out why you're going to keep going. So once I decided to do it, I was just like, fuck, man, I'm done waiting for people. I'm going to just do my shit. And then I just started, pushing it up.
I got an actual question. It's a cool question for the end of the video. After saying what I'm saying about my own channel and about my YouTube journey, is that disappointing for you to hear?
No.
Does it make sense to you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's because it's also, I think it's very similar to why I do it and how I do it. Mm-hmm. Since I started doing it, I wasn't like, I need to do this because I want to live a certain lifestyle or I want people to see me in a certain light. I only did it because I wanted to start doing something creatively. And even now, like once I stopped the gaming channel and, Larry came to me to start doing the podcast, I was very quick to say yes, because I was so eager to start doing something creative again. And then I remember we started this, and then with anything, you kind of just get into a rhythm and then it starts to feel bland. Me and Larry did the Diddy episode where we did the skit.
Yeah, that shit took off a little bit.
It did really good. And I remember talking to him on that episode, like, yo, I fucking love doing this. Like, the skit thing, again, lit another fire in me where it was like, creatively, I enjoyed doing it. Because now I was starting to think about, like, camera angles, how certain shots might look. Like the shot that we did where he was being interviewed by, somebody, and I'm in the background peeking through the glass. Like, that stuff like that is just like, from a creative standpoint, it's just fun to think about and then execute, edit, and then see it come to life is just fun for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that actually makes me really happy because one of the things that I don't want to do is disappoint y'all, because I know y'all look to me for certain things the same as I look to y'all for certain things. And I'm like, this YouTube shit, I'm like, I'm kind of all about it, but then doing it, it's not that fucking fun, man. Like,
Yeah.
like,
There's no week that goes by where me and Larry are like, fuck YouTube.
dude,
Because
like,
honestly, fuck YouTube. But
that's how I feel, bro. Like, and it's like, no matter what happened, like, all right, let me try to sum this up to make it make sense. When I started YouTube, I didn't know that I was, what kept me on was the creative outlet. I started YouTube with the sole purpose of trying to make it a career. So I put everything I had into writing and scripting and really editing my video. I put a lot of money into my videos and whatnot early on, and then that shit got shut down. Copyrights, all bunch of bullshit.
He was fighting an uphill battle there.
Bro, that took a lot out of me.
Yeah.
Then I rebranded and I started doing other content that I enjoyed. And I enjoyed that content because it gave me the means to explore and kind of keep learning. But then when I started this new channel, I'm like, I'm not learning shit, man. Like, I'm just performing, doing reactions, sharing my opinion where I can, but there's like the value is empty. I'm not really creating anything. I'm just responding to some shit that somebody else created. Yeah. Feels like I'm fucking stealing. Yeah. Like, so I don't know, but
no, I get that 100%. Like, I remember thinking to myself, like, me and Larry had a couple episodes where we were just like, to your point, reacting to some stuff. And I was like, bro, I don't want to like react to content. I want to be the content. I want to create the content. Like, sure, reacting to content creates content, sure. But I want to make it. Like, it's so much more thrilling to create the content. So
yeah, like now basically I have a channel. Every time I fucking look at it, like, somebody edit a violin in this part. I look at that shit and I'm like, yo, this is so empty. Like, this means absolutely, I feel nothing about this. If I deleted that shit today, I would not shed a tear, bro. Like, when I revived my old channel, YouTube/Stay Curious for all y'all, I did upload that one video to it. I had the other video ready to go. I just don't know when the fuck I'm going to upload it. But doing that and writing and exploring that shit, I'd probably cry if that shit ever left. It's like, because I actually created something, man. Like, so if anybody's watching, if you get on YouTube, might want to make some money, cool. But if you're not here to be creative, then I don't know if it's sustainable. The creation is what's going to probably sustain you long term.
Yep. That's actually the best way to put it. Look, appreciate you coming on today, man. Having this conversation. When Larry went over to his anniversary again, congratulations to him and his wife.
Congrats.
So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below if you've attempted, YouTube and some of your hardships. If you got any tips and tricks that you want to share with other people, because YouTube is a community. And we learn off of each other just as much as we shit on one another on there. But catch you guys next week. See ya. I'm gonna cut that out.